to answer each question. Otherwise, we'll be here later time. So with a minute to a minute and a half each question, it allows the candidates to answer effectively but keep things nice and short and sweet. Then they'll wrap up with 4 minutes each closing. And hopefully you'll have an enjoyable night and learn quite a bit about what each candidate stands for and helps you with your voting decision. Now, the first candidate to introduce themselves tonight will be Lauren Edwards. Please give Lauren a lovely round of applause to welcome her with her opening remarks. Testing.
1, 2, 3. Hello everybody, I'm Lauren Edwards, and I've called Port Macquarie Hastings home since January 1998, all of my adult life. Can't hear me up the back? Oh, it is a little speaker. Okay. Sexual. 1, 2, is that better? Okay. And I thought I could project. Okay, I'll start again. I'm Lauren Edwards, and I've called Port Macquarie Hastings home since January 1998, all of my adult life. I've raised a daughter here who is now 22 years of age, and I've been very proud and thrilled to live in such a beautiful place. I'm also proud to announce my candidacy for Mayor, leading the Greens Group ticket in the upcoming election, and I've got high hopes for a well-balanced council, and I'm joined by Stuart Watson, Jane McIntyre, and Les Mitchell. I'm a small business owner, and I was running 3 small businesses before being elected. At the moment, I've only got time for one, as well as doing this work. I've been a dedicated and passionate Port Macquarie Hastings councillor for the past 3 years, so I'm putting my hand up again. As the Greens mayoral candidate, I emphasise the need for a council that listens, acts, and delivers for the whole community, for all individuals, including people living with disabilities and those experiencing disadvantage and homelessness, and that everybody has their voice heard. The Greens believe that responsible governance requires a commitment to our community and to our environment, both enacting and the bill. Anything less would be irresponsible to current and future generations. And while some may view council's role as limited to roads, rates and rubbish, we'll hear that a little bit, the Greens assert that it should encompass much, much more, and it does. Councils are responsible for community planning, and to make this planning become a reality through community development, where you have your say and your input into council's approach to things like affordable housing, environmental conservation, active transport, road maintenance, water and sewer, waste services, community facilities, and responding to climate change. We live in one of the most pristine environments on the New South Wales coast, and we must preserve our natural resources and ensure that our infrastructure supports sustainable growth and a high quality of life for all residents. The Greens are committed to creating a council that truly represents all community members. We care about having a fair and balanced council for the Port Macquarie Hastings community. And we encourage our community to engage in this election process, as it's so vital for residents to be invested in who and what they are voting for, to ensure that there is a diverse and inclusive council. In the next term, I aim to reinvigorate community engagement and partnerships, to reinstate the climate emergency declaration that the community worked so hard to have acknowledged, to protect high priority environmental land and wildlife corridors, to increase active transport investment, to advocate for more affordable housing and emergency housing solutions, to pursue 1 or more free electric bus trials in the local government area, among many other things. And you can see our entire policy platform online. So that's us, that's me in a nutshell, and welcome to the final week candidates, and have a nice evening.
Lauren. Gee, that's loud enough now. You might see on the board there that there's a line through Adam Roberts. Just so you know, he did get an invitation, but as yet, I don't think Hastings Residents Associations had anything other than just an inability to. Adam Roberts sent an inability to attend, so that's why there's a line through there. We were hoping that he'd be here this evening, but unfortunately that wasn't to come about. Next to speak will be Nick Lipovac. Please give Nick a resounding round of applause as he comes to the lectern. He's got a microphone in hand, ready to go.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for coming out tonight to get involved in what's happening with local government. It's greatly appreciated, as have been the audiences over the past 4 meeting candidates. Yes, I'm Nick Lipovac, mayoral candidate for this 2024 local government election. I have lived in Hastings for 21 years, 18 of those working either at 2MCFM, now Triple M, or Radio 531, plus a few years at Holiday Coast Credit Union. So employed full-time, plus the council role, which I'm supposed to be full-time, but it certainly has been many hours and many weekends, but that's the role we expect to play with the first one. I'm chair of the Council Sporting Fund Committee. I have been for the past 15 months, but I've been involved in the committee itself for more than a dozen years. Heavily involved in senior and junior local cricket for 15 years, in different roles as president, as secretary, and a junior rep team manager and also coach. Obviously, over the Clubhouse Construction Committee, that was a fun thing with working with the council on getting that off the ground for more than 10 years, and the goalposts kept moving in terms of what we had to do to finish that project. Thankfully, it's up and running, it was good. Named 2019 Hastings Sporting Volunteer of the Year. I think one of my proudest achievements was the fact that I got to coordinate the first 10 years of fundraising to purchase paediatric equipment for our local hospitals, including portable kids and Maxwell, through the annual Giving 5 to Kids campaign. So that was certainly a major highlight, particularly when my kids were very young at the time. You certainly don't want them to go to the hospital, but you want to know they have the best possible equipment. I have volunteered at dozens of community, charity and sporting events, and I'm part of a team who's won a couple of business awards. So for me, if you're not involved in the community one way or another, then standing as a councillor, being a councillor, I don't think it's the right role for you. I think it's important on your bio that it should always be part of your makeup that you are heavily involved in your local community one way or the other. Personally, I'm celebrating my 25th wedding anniversary later this month. My wife Venus here, my daughter Alicia as well. No need to clap. Oh, maybe clap for me. Maybe not for me. So 2 grown-up kids, we're paying off the mortgage in the first home, so pretty much just a regular life. Working hard and trying to do our best, trying to do my best for our community. The rest of the team, 40 years in Hastings is John Bailey from Bob's Creek. Has been behind the camera for NBN TV during that time. Sporting volunteer, but also works to make a difference on weekends. Ellen Crapaz is a community leader promoting locals, local businesses, charity events. Over 13 years experience in government initiatives and stakeholder engagements. And Luke Garrell, the Golf Pro Q Country Club at the Digital Lighthouse, sports and small business advocates. Much of the same opinion as all of us, that we wanted to see council deliver on essential upgrades to meet current demands and also what we need for the future. So to briefly talk about some of the issues that concern us, there are many that require attention in our LGA. We talk about the lack of social and affordable housing for long-term locals, and we need that for essential workers coming into the area. And I'd like to see council provide greater incentives to increase the development of more 1 and 2 bedroom homes. We must make that significant progress to certainly get on top of our backlog of infrastructure needs, roads, parks, water and sewage. And some people may say, oh, it's all about roads, and rubbish. Well, yes, it is, but that's what council does. Don't think that one route ticket is focusing and specialising in just delivering that, because we all have to deliver it as good-minded councillors and impact for our future requirements. At the same time, we've got to be financially responsible. Not going to be easy to find the right balance, but 90 councillors all chipping in, making a contribution in association with the expert staff advice and the community having their say. We can make the right choices. Last term was all about divisiveness, distrustful and dysfunction. 2024 and beyond, we're looking at democracy, decent people making good decisions. Thank you.
Very much, Nick. Is that any louder this time? They did turn it up for me somewhere out the back if you want. Is it? Okay. Fabulous. Our next speaker is Mark Hornshaw. Please welcome Mark to the lectern.
Very good to be here. Can you hear me okay? Is it working all right? Brilliant. So I just want to thank my wife, Ilka, for being here. Ilka and I just celebrated our 27th wedding anniversary last Friday. And we've got raised 6 kids together. Our 2 oldest married and both given us grandkids, which makes us feel very special. And our 3rd oldest is getting married in 2 months. So that'll be 3, and we've got 3 others with us. I've run many businesses over the years. I've been an entrepreneur, started, managed, sold businesses in different industries. I've been a university lecturer for 15 years, teaching economics and entrepreneurship. I've worked in overseas aid and done many sort of overseas aid and relief trips and conferences and things. I've been secretary, vice president, and president of a state sporting organisation in a voluntary capacity. And I'm also a farmer. I've got a busy life, and we've got a business called Bar Bush Club. And so we love community, and being part of the community means being part of the community. You serve the community whenever you work in a job, or whenever you have a family. All of us are creating community all the time. It doesn't come from the council. Council's got its job, you delegate to it, but council is the pinnacle of community or society. When a family is looking at their budget and saying we can't achieve all our goals, we're doing it tough, like many are at the moment. Many people in our community are facing the cost of living crisis. They can't just say, oh, that's all right, we'll just go and steal from our neighbours. And if the neighbours don't give us what we demand, we'll just take their house. But the state can do that. And the council is an arm of the state. If you don't pay your rates, they're just going to take your house. An entrepreneur can't say, oh, people aren't buying enough of our products, we'll just force them to buy our products. No, they can't. They just have to say, we need to find a way of offering better products that people do want. But a council doesn't have to. They can say, like it or lump it. And you're going to pay for it either way. Well, the entrepreneurial sector is the peaceful and voluntary sector, and we want there to be more of that, and we want there to be less coercion. But the council, even when they don't take your house for not paying rates, can still say, based on climate modelling, we have now declared your house to be an increased risk of fire or flood or something else, and we're just going to take it anyway. The state government passed that law in 2022. They can just take your house based on modelling, not even based on any actual events. And they can do whatever they want with it, including selling it off to developers, if they want to. And even if they don't take your land or your house, they can still act as if they're the real owners. You want to build a shed? Not without our permission. You want to pave your driveway? Not without our permission. You want to have a barbecue or a gas stove? No, that's going to cause climate change. We're going to put a stop to that. Well, libertarians think that you own your property and the council should stay out of the way. Libertarians want there to be less theft, not more. Libertarians want a peaceful and voluntary society that comes from the grassroots up, not from the top down. And that's what we hope to do. We have taken a leaf out of the Greens book. The Greens are very organised, they're ideologically driven, and they've been very effective at using councils to push their platform. The Libertarians want to do the same. We disagree on everything, but we admire the Greens for their ideological purity and for their dedication. And we want to take a lead out of their book. Thanks.
I'm sorry, the microphones. Can you hear me now? Okay. Before we get into some questions from a few of the news outlets around town, every session that we've had so far, we've always asked the question to candidates about the referendum. You happy for me to read this book? Did you want me to read this?
Yes, please.
Okay, so the referendum question we have to answer at the election asked if we agree with reducing the number of councillors from 9 to 7. What is your position? Do I have an order of answer on here for this particular question? I don't. Okay, we'll just start with Nick then, thanks very much.
Thank you. Testing 1, 2. So in relation to this question, we answered a number of times, both the pre-polling and at the various media candidates events and on social media. Whatever the case may be, I sound like a broken record, but the simple answer is, my position is, no, we are not looking at reducing. We do not need to reduce the number of councillors down to 7. The population is growing. We don't need less people representing more people. An increased workload means councillors will be less productive. 9 councillors will have more people of different backgrounds who move around in different networks, live in different areas of Hastings who have diverse opinions. Those diverse opinions to consider each item we vote on, all pros and cons of every decision independently. You'll find that only 6 of the 28 candidates standing in this election want a reduction in councillor numbers. Those 6 have not attended any of the candidates' sessions. At 1 ticket. Most councils across our local region have 9 councillors. The exceptions being the merged mid-coast council, they have 11. They have a ward system, a very large area to cover. Billow has 7, for 13,500. We have 90,000 plus by 2028. We don't want to go down to 7. We want 9. When you tick the referendum question, tick no. Thank you.
I'm also voting no to that question. I think 9 is a better number than 7 in terms of the number of councillors. This is one of those kind of questions where the principle doesn't tell you. The principle is we want council to be less meddlesome in people's lives. But which number of councillors is going to be less meddlesome is hard to say. 1,000 is going to be too many. 1 is going to be too few. We need to find the number in between. But if we are currently at 9, I think 7 would be a step in the wrong direction, and so let's leave it at 9. Thanks.
Okay, the book race is ready to particularly encourage those to say no to reducing councillor numbers from 9 to 7. We believe that diversity in representation is opportunities for better debate and decision making for our whole community. If there are only 7 councillor positions, 1 mayor and 6 councillors, it seems quite likely that a group ticket of, say, 6 candidates who all think and vote in exactly the same way can control the council with absolutely no diversity of representation or debate. And this will likely mean that the democratic process and procedure will be undermined. The mover of the motion during the September 2023 council meeting to go to this $70,000 referendum, which only passed with a yes casting vote, argued that reducing council numbers would make it harder for special interest groups to get elected. Considering that Councillor Littleback and myself were the last 2 of the 8 councillor positions to be determined, we can only assume the mover is referring to us. With current councillor numbers and the diversity that this brings, I have been able to address many aspects of the community's aspirations, including reducing traffic congestion, worked hard to ensure the top priority for councillors fixing the bottleneck at major corridors like Bay Road and the Oxley Highway Rights Road, caring for our natural environment. I've instigated identifying suitable sites for renewable energy projects such as the Dunbogan Sewer Treatment Plant, along with grant funding applications. Promoting collaboration and transparency, I instigated a review of the community engagement system structures and committees that were axed under the current council at the beginning of the term. Do these sound like the actions of a special interest group or someone who's just actually progressing the community strategic plan?
Thank you very much for the treatment answers. Interesting that every single one of these people is going to vote no. So I guess you've got to make up your own mind which way you want to go there, just like every other question that you're going to hear answered tonight. The next question is from Ruby Dion. Had my glasses on to be able to read it. Ruby Pascoe. Ruby is from the Port News. We'll just get Ruby to ask that question, please.
You have to make decisions with people who might have different opinions.
A little bit soft there, Ruby. A bit closer to the mouth of the microphone.
Being an elected councillor often means that you have to make and work with people who have different opinions to yourself. Can you give an example of how you would put this aside and work together to achieve the best possible outcomes for the community?
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Ruby.
Thank you, Ruby, much appreciated. I've been putting differences aside for 2 years and 9 months, to be honest, the entire team, the entire term, I should say. So I'm well versed in how to do that. I'm not sure that there are others on council who can say that. So my voting patterns clearly indicate I consider agenda items independently and vote accordingly, based on the information provided and through my own sources and experience to achieve the best outcomes. I'm proud to say that I've been able to convince others to see my point of view on the floor of the chamber during robust discussion using truth and facts, and change the way they were considering voting, and importantly, vice versa. When you give information you hadn't considered, that is a different opinion, I have on several occasions changed my position on which way to vote. That is how this is supposed to work. I've been on various committees over the past 2 decades. People don't always see eye to eye. But usually most people want to do what's best for the people or organisation they are representing. My experience is a bit of compromise, negotiation goes a long way to resolving issues. No one should ever be so arrogant to say my way is the only way and my way is always the right way. Don't put your hand up here, councillor, if you can't be flexible and adaptable. Thank you.
I think quite the opposite. Who wants a councillor who's flexible and adaptable and who has no principles and who just flips and flops? Do you want to vote for a Green and then the Green is talked out of the Green policies and it just votes for the opposite? Okay, I'll give it a try. We do have some former Greens candidates standing as candidates for the Libertarians. Those are the ones that read some books and then learned. So it is possible, but we are standing on principle. And so the people that vote for me expect me to adhere to those principles. We want to say no to woke agendas, no to smart cities. We want to cut costs and slash rates. We want to support private property rights. I'm prepared to vote that way even if it's 8 against 1. I'm going to stand on my principles. We'll create a real voting block then, 8 against me. But if that's the way it is, I will still stand on those principles. Thanks.
Thank you. I've written out my answer to this one. I believe that I'm on record doing exactly this. Many times in this term, in fact all of the time, through my professional approach, being polite and respectful at all times. A specific example of what I would do as mayor would be to create and invest in a collegial environment and a constructive working relationship with all councillors. And the mayor can best display this through being fair and impartial chair, through genuinely encouraging all councillors' input on each matter, encouraging consensus building and not voting to shut down debate. There has been many times in this term of council where I have had to ask, almost beg for the opinion for, what are the views of some of the other councillors, and I don't get a response to their question or notice. I do genuinely value and want to know what all councillors are thinking when they're making decisions.
Thank you. The next question is from Luke Hadfield of the Camden Haven News. Thanks, Luke.
Thanks, guys. Port Macquarie Hastings is growing rapidly. How do you plan to balance new infrastructure development with maintaining the natural beauty and environmental sustainability of the region?
Thanks, Luke. Firstly, I do want to strongly agree that Port Macquarie Hastings is a beautiful area. I think it's the most beautiful place in Australia, and that's why we've all decided to live here. And it is a growth area, as you say. Councils all over Australia are basically forced by their state governments to absorb more development, more growing populations. There are some actually in some more remote areas that are struggling to find enough population, but in beautiful places like this, we are forced to accommodate more development, more dwellings. And but the area, the natural environment is not going to, it doesn't look the same as it did 50 years ago, it's not going to look the same in 50 years as it does today. But as people get wealthier, as society develops, people are willing voluntarily to devote more of their time and effort to looking after the environment, the real environment. I don't mean climate change cult. I mean actually caring for the whales instead of putting windmills in their migration corridors, actually caring for the birds instead of putting up windmills in the forests and chopping them down. Wealthier people are more able to devote their time and attention to beautifying the environment for the pleasure of all humans. Thanks.
Okay, this is all out of order. Thanks for the test. So, Macquarie Hastings is growing rapidly. We've been designated a high growth area by the state government for some time. My answer is A, by pursuing a community's desire to be the most livable, sustainable and innovative place in Australia in every decision of council. It is the community strategic plan that says this. B, by getting the land use strategy that is to be drafted and exhibited for community input in the next term of council right. And C, by continuing to advocate for the improvement that the state government needs to make in its state environmental planning policies. Three key things.
So it's a very regular question that comes up every election for every council around the country, but especially in regional areas. Many people have moved here to escape that city lifestyle and enjoy our natural amenities, but how do we get the balance right? It's a jigsaw puzzle. We need to make sure the pieces fit. We need more homes, but where do we put them? Certainly not in areas deemed a bushfire risk or a flood risk or a designated koala habitat, but we've done that anyway in the past. First, we need to catch up on infrastructure to meet those current demands and future needs. But the solution, let's not forget about all the empty blocks we see around town, the infill development, which refers to the process of developing vacant or underutilised land within the existing urban areas where infrastructure is already available. We don't need to start from scratch with land that hasn't been previously developed. So there's one solution to your question at this point in time, but I kind of agree with Mark, progress is hard to stop. And we will continue to develop outwardly, looking for more areas to build and to habitat. But we can also ensure we don't accelerate that by using what we already have that's vacant in the area, inside the urban areas. Thank you.
Thank you to all our three candidates. Now, Marina from NBN News could not be here tonight. So I'm just going to get Greg to read out the questions that Marina has sent in.
What are your main focuses heading into this election, and what policies can we expect from you if elected?
Thanks. The Libertarians are running on a bold policy platform across the state. We want to say no to woke agendas. Council is here to do local level public works. They're not here to solve Middle East peace. They're not here to teach kids about gender. They're not here to change the temperature of the globe. They're here to just get on with the boring jobs that do them well. And so we want to say no to any agendas that are not part of council's business. We want to say no to smart cities, which includes all the surveillance state. All of the cameras should be focused inwards on the government, not outwards on you. And so we oppose the surveillance, which will lead to 15-minute cities and will lead to trying to keep you from driving in an attempt to curb your carbon footprint. We want to say no to all of that and nip it in the bud. We want to cut costs and slash rates. So we want council to actually serve the community. We don't want people in head office that are agenda driven. And we want to promote property rights, like I spoke about in my opening address. And in some areas, not so much here, but the coast that was recently merged with 3 councils, and it's an absolute disaster. And some of those need demerging. Thanks.
Our main focus heading into this election is to continue to talk about the community strategic plan, because you guys set the plan and then we help deliver it. But in terms of policies that I might like to bring to a new council, well, I'm not sure if this is what people were expecting, but I went to my list, my dream list of policies, because I actually do have one. And one of them is actually already coming back to the next term of council, which is a budget development policy, so there'll be a draft of that for the new council to consider. I would also like to pursue a grant funding policy, a briefings policy, a development industry interaction policy. There's a number of things that I think that we need to improve systems, or to progress the expectations of the community that I think that they've clearly articulated. One of those being transparency.
So our group policy will focus on being forward-thinking and financially responsible, and I'll repeat that several times over time. We want to make that progress on the region's backlog of infrastructure, housing, transport, supporting field requirements. At the start of this term, we were told we were 7 years behind our projects. I was speaking to someone at Green Bowling today, and he said, we've been behind for the last 20 years, and he would know he's been around for 60. We made some great progress around scratching the surface. As you may be aware, our operating expenses are greater than our operating revenue. There's only so many things you can do to cut back or reduce. We take out loans, yes, we rely heavily on state, federal government funding, but we still need to be responsible while planning for the future. So we are determined to increase that level, and this might be buzzwords, but they're good words. Communication, transparency, accountability, and integrity. It's what you want, it's what you deserve. I have the greatest respect for the work of council staff and your inputs. I want to encourage you to have your say and not think, what's the point? Nobody's listening. Some councillors have been listening in the last term, many were not. No room for personal agendas, party politics, and previously by years. Our policy is to achieve as much as possible over the next 4 years to set us up for the next decade and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you very much to all our candidates with the answer to that question. The next question is another question from Ruby at Port News.
There have been claims of block voting and some criticism of the mayor's casting vote to vote split votes during the previous council term. If a situation were to occur again where there is a divided council, how would you overcome this and ensure that council decisions are fair and transparent?
Thank you, Ruby. So I will firstly dispute the wording of there have been claims. Block voting has occurred, supported by TDP since Councillor Griffiths resigned, and therefore the casting vote has been in play on a record number of occasions. That's true for facts. In my opinion, should this situation become an issue again for this council, and on a side note, I would like to think the makeup of the new council provide a greater variety of people and opinions. The chairperson, whether it be the mayor or in their absence, the councillor elected to run the meeting, they could easily decide to not vote on the item and therefore break the deadlock. Radical, I know. That's one train of thought. By all means, speak to the item, but to allow the council of business to move forward, the chair doesn't have to vote. However, I would probably prefer the less radical. The preferred option would be to defer the item for the next meeting and then hold those informed discussions in the month leading up to the next meeting to reach a consensus. That's what I would.
I think the words voting block is a Shepherd Edwards talking point that they've been going on incessantly about. I don't think it's an issue that affects real people in the community. It's what people say when they're losing a vote, basically. When you're winning a vote, you don't say it's block voting. You just say that 4 of us happen to agree, right? If you vote for a bunch of people from the same ticket, guess what? They probably agree on a fair few things, and they probably don't vote the same way. I think that it seems to me that there are 16 people running for the Greens. They probably agree on a lot of stuff too. And so if they have a block and if they have the casting vote, they'll probably vote the same way, and whoever's in the minority will probably scream the same thing. It's as fair as you can get. I don't think it's ever fair when people are bossing other people around. Council bosses all of us around. It's not fair. But the system we have is that you vote for representatives and they vote a certain way. And if you elect a mayor and the mayor is the chairman of a meeting, they have a casting vote. So choose wisely, because you're electing the person who will have that casting vote. Yes, if it's him, he'll decide not to use it, as he's alluded to. I doubt it though. So choose wisely.
Thank you, Mark. And I say, actually, a bit of a mention block voting, but it's a question, so I'm going to answer it. And I do believe it has occurred at times. Now, I've been in the position of chairing a meeting and had the casting vote available to me, and on one occasion I've chosen not to use it because there was an even number, it was split, and I didn't need a decision right then and there. The council didn't need a decision right then and there. So it could come back to another meeting, allow more time, and have another go when some of the councillors were in attendance actually. And another occasion on a really time-sensitive matter and in a confidential session as well, a very important thing that needed a decision. There was no option to just, defer that, and I used the casting vote to make sure that a decision was made, that we would get more information down the track, the decision to get more information and it to come back to council again. So there are times where you will use the casting vote, but I think that it should be very, very rarely.
Thank you very much, Warren. Yeah, the next question is from Luke at Camden Haven News. Thanks, Luke.
Traffic. Traffic congestion is an ongoing concern. What is your plan for improving transportation infrastructure and services in both urban and rural parts of the council area?
Okay, I'm trying to talk too fast, I've got a lot to say. My plan is to continue to pursue the community's plan, just as I have done from the start of council. For example, I've taken my cues from the Golden Plains Community Plan for park and ride hubs and facilities, active transport, shared pathways and better bus services, which appear in almost every single town and village plan we have. Warhoe, Camden Haven, Hume, Kendall, Herons Creek and Lawn, Beechwood, Pembroke, Hastings, Hinterland and Lake Caroline. I've been asking the questions about why Port Grey's Council missed out on being properly funded within the 16 cities public transport increased investment, and I'll be pushing for better. I have also taken my cue from the Imagine 2050 community-wide strategic plan that I've mentioned tonight for reduced traffic and less congestion, with a clear transport network approach to address present and future needs is what you all said you wanted. I've helped to prioritise the delivery of 2 lanes in each direction for the Lake Road corridor through the industrial area, unlike one of the other mayoral candidates who suggested through a budget submission that this shouldn't actually happen until 2026-2027. Curious. And I have pursued the possibility of an interim upgrade solution for the Oxley Highway Wrights Road roundabout congestion with a 3-lane solution that I put forward to ministers and Transport for New South Wales. I wasn't so lucky, but I'll keep trying. And the investment in the alternate upgrade that was taken away, I have been pursuing ministers to see if we could have that reinstated. Most recently, I'm waiting to hear back for a meeting with the new Minister for Housing to explain how a lot of our housing delivery actually is hinged on getting that upgrade done for our community. So, hey, we're trying everything.
Thank you, Lauren. Now, you may not be aware that Council released an infrastructure strategy 2022 to 2042, where there's a specific section on transport and movement infrastructure and estates. The effects of growth are already being felt by residents as the transport system reaches capacity, despite significant investment in transport infrastructure. A road capacity building approach will not fully address our issues unless there is a significant shift in public transport and active modes such as walking and cycling. Car dependency creates issues around the livability of a region. As roads become busier, it makes it more difficult and less safe to travel on foot or by bike, compounding congestion. In summary, we need to encourage more people to use public transport. The buses are always empty, walking and cycling, probably not safe on our natural roads. So there is also an issue at this point in time, but is there enough people wanting to take up these options? I would say no. Easy to say, not so easy to do. We have spoken about parking right in the past. We spoke about in the 2021 election campaign, where you can have areas in Warhoe, Strawberry Mills, Lake Caroline, maybe even use the land next to Kmart, where you can leave your car and jump on a reliable regular bus service to get you in and around town. That is something we're going to consider. Thank you.
I think council is getting on with a lot of the roads that are owned by council. You see Ocean Drive coming along. Lawn Road is starting to be sealed bit by bit. Lake Road is going to be widened. The main bottleneck that everybody gets caught out on and everybody hates and groans about, of course, is the Optic Highway coming through, across Wrights Road and down to the Lake Road roundabout, because it's a state road. And the council has put in submissions, and all councillors have put in those submissions to the state, but our state member, Leslie Williams, has dropped the ball and not done anything, not pushed it, not made it a priority. So to really get that major traffic problem fixed, we need a state member. We need a proper conservative in there, not a fake left liberal like Leslie Williams. Active transport means instead of fixing the roads, we'll just solve traffic congestion by making it so plebs can't drive. That's really what that means. If you go to Armadale, there's these stupid purple electric scooters lying all over the footpaths and the nature strips that nobody uses. That's called active transport. It's a stupid idea. Thanks.
Thank you very much to our candidates once again. The next question is another one from Marina. So thank you, Greg.
Reflecting on the previous council term, where can we expect improvements with you as a mayor? And how will you meet the community's expectations in terms of better transparency and communication on key issues?
Okay, so it's a great question by Marina. I wish Marina was also here to ask the question. Fantastic. Always important to represent. So, having experienced the last term of some wonderful moments, wonderful meetings, extended meetings, sometimes, well, I guess if you're watching them, quite entertaining, to say the least. What I intend to do, having also watched many posts in cross-market council meetings, is try for less drama and be, well, not a highly emotional person, so to speak, so you won't get my backup, as we've seen on many occasions when people get upset when they're being spotlight's being put on, so to speak. It's all about teamwork, we know that, and we need to listen to others' opinions. The other councils will often, in every agenda item, will ask a couple of times, anything else? Anyone else want to speak on this matter for me? Yes, please tell me. Where meetings we've had the last 2 years and 9 months, you are shut down. 2 for, 2 against, that's it. No one else gets to have a say, we're moving on. That is rubbish. I will not tolerate that, and I will not be following that particular pattern. So it's all about getting down to debating the issues, getting everyone's point of view, and then moving on. Thank you.
Councillors are very myopic. So when they see words like transparency and communication on key issues, they answer like Nick, all about council meetings. They said this, and we wanted to say this, but we didn't get to say this, so we're going to be transparent, and we're going to tell you every single blow by blow what happened in the council meeting, because that's what the community wants to hear about, right? But I don't think it is. It needs to be transparent. It's there, it's live streamed, it's broadcast. But when I'm speaking to people, they just want to be able to call the council and say there's a missing drain grate. Can someone do something about it? They want to say there's a dead branch that's about to fall on someone's car. Can you send someone to lop it off? They want to say there's someone's crashed into a guardrail and it needs to be fixed. They just want to say normal stuff and then be able to phone someone. They take the call, they say thank you very much, I'll put you on to the right person, or I'll make sure that's done and follow it up. That's what normal people understand by transparency and communication on key issues. And that's what I think it needs to drastically improve.
Okay, so you can expect improvements in my knowledge and skills to chair a council meeting, the good democratic process, and in following the code of meeting practice, which I always do try to do to the best of my ability, and I don't think anyone could fault me on that. If Nick is unemotional, I'm practically a rock. Yes, that's what I do. So, and I also continue to encourage that decisions are made on the floor of council. That's there for everybody to see the exact process of how we came to decide that. So I think that's fair enough, and that's transparency to me. In terms of other key aspects, I've already pursued improvements in the standard of returns of interest. I think that's another key area of transparency. Communication, okay, you can get me on that one. I really should get better on the socials.
Thank you very much. Now, the next question, I believe, is from Ruby from Port News. Ruby, have you got a microphone? I'll come up and give you mine. Why not? You'll need to talk really loud through this one.
The CEO has said that council's financial situation isn't good and that the council needs to get back to basics. If elected, what steps would you take as mayor to rectify this for the community and council as an organisation?
Thank you, Ruby.
When the general manager and the staff were asked a few months ago, how can we cut costs from council, you remember what they answered? They said, we can cut out community grants, which was about 200,000, drop in the ocean, and we can charge people to play sport, which would hardly even cover the cost of mowing a few lawns. In other words, they gave answers that were perfectly targeted to give maximum pain to anyone seeking election, but absolutely no pain, no skin off the nose of any of the council staff. In other words, it was a slap to councillors, and that slap to councillors was really a slap to ratepayers. I think someone should have had their contract held over the flame for that. That should have been at least one strike out of 3 and you're out for coming back with that answer. It was really rude. The council staff need to work out who is doing actual work here, who is actually mowing the lawns and fixing the potholes, and who is here creating email signatures, and who is here being a diversity officer, and who is here in so-called community consultation, but they're really just trying to get a rubber stamp for their own agenda. There needs to be cuts from within the council administration.
Thank you. I believe that back to basics means to understand and allocate the income and expenditure of Port Hastings Council, and that's why I brought the notice of motion seeking the drafting of a budget development policy for the next term of council, and also why I put the question you've noticed to Port Hastings Council staff on the new asset management plans that are being developed. The important work that Port Council is undertaking to just determine the true maintenance and renewal costs of existing assets based on solid data, and a lot of this is underground stuff, the 3 water stuff. This is a big challenge to get across and to account for and to allocate appropriately for, and that's what's really ahead of us.
So council has been back to basics over the past 2 years, 9 months following 2 rate freezes. A substantial increase in costs within all areas of council's operations, both in office and on the road, and the restructuring that has taken place with staff. There has been a significant turnover of staff. Back to basics will continue, and I'm happy to be honest about where we're headed. Not a lot can be done to rectify the damage of those councillors who voted in favour of being financially irresponsible, just so they could deliver on an ill-conceived promise to simply gain election votes, but will harm and is harming council's financial position for years to come. Truth and facts. You wonder if these councillors actually understand how to run a business. Yes, council is a business. One example of being irresponsible, let's spend $70,000 of your money on a referendum no one asked for. In answer to your question, it can't be rectified overnight. No one can stand here and promise to be rectified this term. And again, it wasn't just the CEO who said the financial situation moving forward isn't good. It was the finance director, it was the 4 underlying independent councillors, and you're certainly going to find quite a lot in reserves. As we know, the majority is restricted for the purpose of delivering on core and essential services. Thank you.
Thank you all. Next question is from Luke from the Camden Haven News.
How will you ensure that all potential conflicts of interest are properly declared and managed? And what specific measures will you put in place to guarantee transparency and accountability in council decisions?
I think in terms of conflicts of interest, there's laws about that. And laws need to be made not by the people who you're actually asking. In other words, those laws come from the state, and you would expect transparency and accountability as just base layer. If you have to say, oh yes, vote for me and I'll be transparent and accountable, it's like, hang on a second, that's just our expectation, right? That's not a policy. That's not something that makes you special. That just makes you qualified. And so I think asking people, are you going to be transparent and accountable, shows there's a lot of suspicion, right? Well, that suspicion is not going to be cleared by a candidate getting up and saying, oh yes, yeah, I'll be transparent, yeah, I'll be accountable. If you don't believe them now, why would you believe them if they said it from an election out of the candidates, right? So it's just a basic condition. We're running on a policy platform based on principle, and so I hope that you'll be able to hold me to at least advocating for the policy positions I've taken. I could lose every vote. I can't guarantee I will achieve my goals, but I'm here to advocate for them. Thanks.
Thank you. And I'm sure that Mark will complete his return of interest completely, fully, if elected. I can only ensure that any potential conflicts of interest arising from my own interests are properly declared and managed. And I believe that I've always done this fully and accurately, completing my returns of interest and making appropriate disclosures in council meetings and briefings, and removing myself from the meeting. As for improvements to the overall system and the standard of it, I did bring that notice of motion as mentioned tonight to the November 2023 agenda to have Port Macquarie Hastings Council audit those returns of interest and provide a report to Council. Subsequently, after receiving that report, I brought another notice of motion to the March 2024 meeting seeking that Port Macquarie Hastings Council Code of Conduct be amended to ensure that visibly incomplete returns do not be accepted. Ultimately, an amendment was moved that instead sought to encourage the Office of Local Government to strengthen the model code of conduct, which I did support. However, I argue that we really don't need to wait for the cue from the Office of Local Government to strengthen our own, and I would revisit this in the new term of council. And I would also continue to encourage, as I said, that we seek to ensure decisions are made on the floor of council and not behind closed doors.
So in relation to this question, the Office of Local Government could certainly do more to investigate claims and be more proactive in this area. And if it doesn't pass the pub test, we'll naturally stop the alarm bells. And as I spoke to the Governance Officer Michael earlier today about another issue I raised in relation to what's happening during the pre-election campaign, he said there are in fact a lot of things on council that unfortunately don't pass the pub test. As far as I'm concerned, if it's bordering on being a conflict of interest, then it's a conflict of interest. There are no exceptions, no ifs or buts or maybes. It is too easy at the moment to escape scrutiny. I've got notice of motion to councillors to be allowed to view the details of local businesses tendering for council contracts. Guess what? It was denied. I won't tell you who denied it or who voted against it. I certainly won't take credit for any Lawrence work on council in this area where, as we heard, a number of notices of motion were put up to identify potential conflicts and were then defeated. If you don't have anything to hide, then let's put in place a system where we can guarantee all decisions being made are done so at a high level of transparency and accountability.
Yes.
Good. Thank you. The next question is from Marina, so I'll get Greg to ask that. Thank you.
Anything else you'd like the community to know about?
Yes, there is actually something I keep forgetting to say at the end of my closing remarks. There's been mentioned that KPIs for mayor and councillors might be a good thing, and in fact when Councillor Libertas did some fine work and brought a notice of motion seeking that, I did support it because I would welcome KPIs and I would happily open my diary, if mayor, to the ordinary council meeting each and every month.
I've told you a fair bit about me. Let me tell you something else about libertarians. There's more of us in this area than you think. And I've been getting very, very grateful to our volunteers We've got about 60 volunteers working in this election, letterbox dropping, handing out counter votes on election day and pre-poll. And I've been getting calls and emails every day from people who are excited about our message. And so our message is not for everybody, but it's for more people than you probably think. There's a lot of people who don't want to be medically experimented on. They don't want to be prodded. They don't want to be spied on. They don't want their property stolen or to be told what they can and can't do with it. But they're the loveliest people. And within our community, we've had issues even recently, even this week, with baby health issues and with deaths in the family. And this community rallies. These are good neighbours. These are people who will always help somebody in need because this is a real community. Thanks.
All right, something extra about me. I think I mentioned earlier too, I've always been community focused. I am wired that way. I have a proven track record of community involvement. Perhaps been brought up in a working class family. I've always been able to afford everything we wanted, making sacrifices along the way, and focusing on just what we needed. Well, that should be a basic plan for all councils. When you need someone to step up or speak out, then I feel compelled to do just that, especially when I see injustice and someone needs help. I appreciate that people see that and come to me when they have an issue, and this has occurred in many workplaces over the years. I'm not the boss, I manage a business, I don't own any businesses, but I appreciate that people think I'm reasonable, accessible, and amicable, and I can weigh up the pros and cons of this situation. I listen, I act, I'm glad to say I've got a good relationship with our state and federal members. Politics and personal agendas should never get in the way of providing for your community, and I'm also willing to work with our business chambers and Haven or Haven Port, in addition to the Tourism Association, because these important links have suffered over many years during someone's term as mayor. I've served my apprenticeship, I'm ready for the next role, and I'd also like to add, I have no conflicts of interest. Thank you.
Thank you for your candidates. This next question is from Ruby at Port News. You've got a microphone there, Greg, please. Thank you.
We only have one ungrouped candidate contesting this election in the Port Macquarie Hastings. Do you think group tickets in council elections run the risk of one or two groups gaining the majority, and do you agree with this?
With respect to Ruby, I think you've asked the same question 3 times. It's the same question, just phrased 3 different ways. And it's group tickets, block voting, and the other one, anyway, the first one. It's boring to most people. People vote, and the people that they vote for are the ones that get in. That's it. If they vote for a group of people who think the same way, then that's blame it on the voters. Don't blame it on the people they voted for, if they happen to have the same opinions once elected. So we've already dealt with that. To me, the real issue is the power that councils wield. Everybody is focused on, the power that councils wield, yes, let's increase that and increase it. But then get terribly uppity when someone you don't like is wielding it, right? Well, let's reduce the power in the first place. Let's throw that ring of power into the fire of Mount Doom from whence it came, and then we won't have to worry. So, if you like a certain kind of music, someone likes death metal, and someone likes classical, and someone likes country and western, everybody gets to listen to their own sort of music. What if we had to have a vote every 4 years? You've got just as much chance as everybody else of convincing the people to vote for your music. Too bad if you like classical, because people voted for Taylor Swift. But you can spend the next 4 years advocating, lobbying, trying to convince people to vote for your music, so it's fair. But wouldn't that be an awful way to live? Same with food, same with books. What if there was one book and we all had to vote on it? How about we just have different horses for different courses? How about everybody listens to their own kind of music? Everybody eats their own kind of food. Everybody reads their own book, instead of having to have a winner-takes-all system through voting. Thanks.
Thanks. I think it's me. The answer is yes. If those groups, A, have more than 4 people running on the ticket, B, if those groups behave as if they are in government and anyone else also elected is in opposition, and C, if those individuals conduct themselves as a bloc with predetermined voting plans. You won't see this from the Greens. We're in a party, and people often say there's no room for party politics in local government, but you won't see that from the Greens. We will still be individuals giving our own reasons and voting as we see fit. We are individuals, we are councillors representing the community, and as long as the Greens don't go against the pillars, the four pillars of our party, the principles, then it's the individual making the decision for the community. So you will not see any kind of group voting from the Greens, and every individual should be able to explain their decision making, where they're heading, why.
In response to your question, yes, there's always a risk. But I will add, as I mentioned previously, too, less of a risk if you're on a group ticket of 4, a bigger risk if you're supporting a single ticket of 5 or 6. And although that's exactly what we saw at the last election, I believe voters are now smart enough, they've been paying attention to not allow the same situation to happen again. I encourage voters to consider sharing their votes or preferences, whether they vote above or below the line. But I will continue to bang on about voting only for Group D. It's not a return my time and money and effort, but ultimately you, the voter, you've got the power to decide what's best and who you want to elect, regardless of what we say as group ticket leaders and mayoral candidates. John Bailey, who's known my ticket did very well as an ungroup candidate last time, but it has been acknowledged many of his votes were null and void, as the ballot paper was not completed correctly. He was below the line, they put a 1 on his name under in his box, and then he didn't complete the rest of the paper. So this time he's increasing his chances of election by joining a group. Maybe not the best system, but that's the system that we've been dealt. I've told my group ticket, think for yourselves, you're all grown-ups, and you need to be, again, accountable for your own actions and decisions. I won't be forcing them with the money they vote as a bloc. In saying that, I also wish DJ and Hamish from Labour all the very best for their first elections.
Yay.
I don't believe there are any more questions, is that correct? All right, now what we're going to do now is have the candidates in a different order. It's a different system, yes. In a different order, do their closing remarks. The same system will apply, they have 4 minutes each. The first candidate to do the closing remarks will be Mark Hornshaw. Please welcome, you're going to come back out the front to the lectern, Mark? Please welcome Mark to the lectern, thank you.
Hi, very good. I don't think anybody's mind has been made up tonight. Can I just have a show of hands? Did anyone come here tonight and change their vote? Or decide their vote based on what they've heard tonight? No, we're kind of talking to our own teams here, which is fine. Maybe we should talk to one another from different teams afterwards, that'd be fun. But I've had a lot of fun in this council campaign, and it's been great at these Meet the Candidates forums. I'm introducing libertarianism to a different crowd. So part of the reason why libertarians run in elections is educational. It's a different way of thinking. Freedom doesn't come naturally. Most people are conditioned to think, I have to be ruled by somebody. And when you rob Peter to pay Paul, also, it's very popular with Paul. And so the state tries to tell everybody, oh, you're a Paul, I'm going to rob someone else and do this to you. You don't need freedom. What you really need is free stuff. And someone else is going to pay. But usually you are someone else. Usually it's very circular. They're robbing you to pay you. And so libertarians believe in freedom. And that means that we have to work out ways to serve one another. That's what the entrepreneur does. The entrepreneur says, I hope people like my products. If they don't, I'm going to have to try even harder. And that's what we do in normal life, right? That's what we all do. We all get along through peaceful and voluntary interaction. Well, there should be more of that. And there should be less of the use of force. There should be less of the use of, well, you're going to do what I say regardless, and it's just going to be too bad if you don't like it. There should be less of that. So we're running as a team of 5. Now, I'm running for mayor. I've got the credentials, I believe, to do the job of mayor. I don't actually rate my chances very high of winning as mayor. I'm hoping to get a spot on council. If the Libertarians got 2 spots on council, we have 5 people step forward, which I'm very grateful for. But we don't expect to get 5 people in. If we've got 2 in, that would be fantastic. I am preferencing Adam Roberts as my second preference for mayor. It was either that or the Greens, or the Shadow Greens. And I believe that the Peterson said we want rate cuts, but a rate freeze is the next best thing. And this is the only council in New South Wales to have a rate freeze this year. That's an achievement. That's an embarrassment to a lot of other councils that wanted to say it's impossible to freeze rates in an inflationary environment. Well, now you just got to work hard, and you've got to think more entrepreneurially. And you can't just say, well, we've got our problems, so we're just going to dump those problems onto the community. The community is doing it tough. It's not the time to be gouging them harder. It's the time to be giving relief to ratepayers, not to be saying, no, too bad, we've got our problems here at council and we're dumping them on you. So I hope you vote for us. If you're still undecided, if you're watching on the live stream, hello, I'd appreciate your vote for mayor and for council. Thanks very much.
Thank you. My goodness, this is low when I turn it on, this microphone. Please welcome Lauren Edwards with her final remarks.
Thank you. Seems a bit like the council meeting because you want to make notes while other people are talking. Say something about that. I would like to say that you hear the roads rates rubbish approach, but I prefer transport, services and telling the truth. Telling the truth with the community about the rates money that we use and all the other income and the expenditure too. A rate freeze only affects ratepayers. So if we're in a cost of living crisis, but we're only interested in helping ratepayers with $60 a year, that doesn't fall into our whole community. And it also denies them some of the things they actually wanted to see. I'm asking for your vote for mayor because I've been a committed councillor for our community. I'm passionate, I work hard for you. I've been progressing your community strategic plan. In the last term of council, I've achieved a number of things. I've helped to ensure that priority of delivering the 2 lanes in each direction for the Lake Road corridor and the alternate access through the health and education precinct. While we wait for the state government to come forward and give the overall upgrade solution, this is the only other thing that can be done, the council can do. I've advocated for the establishment of the park and ride hubs and more shared paths, and we see that now in the integrated transport plan. There's exploration of exactly that, and working with busways on that. Instigated the identification of suitable sites for renewable energy projects, and as I mentioned, there's a number, about 4 things at the moment being explored throughout the LGA, Warhope, Dunbogan and at the airport out here. I've highlighted those new grant funding opportunities. I've secured an investigation of a wildlife land bridge over the Pacific Highway. The state government came back and said that they would look at that with the Houston Mitchell Drive overpass. I've instigated delivery of education campaigns on land clearing and wildlife health, which we expect to see in this year of council coming. I've instigated a review of the standards of return of interest, as I said, secured investigations of a vacant council building for homelessness services. I've instigated a review of community engagement systems and structures and those acts committees, and instigated the drafting of that budget development policy. But I haven't done these things alone. In actual fact, I've needed the support of the councillors, even Councillor Griffiths, who supported a number of my initiatives. And I've worked well with others, and I think that's a key and important, vital component of being a good mayor. So I'm asking for your vote, and I do feel that I should now list my many volunteering history because of Nick's comments. So I'll just quickly mention, I started out early when my daughter was young in a really lovely program called Hastings Home Start, which was about meeting with parents who had children under school age, who didn't have support around, didn't have family or friends around, and just needed that, modelling healthy interactions with kids and just being a friend. I've also coached basketball and volunteered many years on the sustainability working group with council. And for these reasons, I feel like I do have that passion to create good community, to support each other. Now, the 4 pillars that I mentioned earlier, I wanted to elaborate on those. So as far as being in the Greens, The only thing that I could do to get kicked out of the Greens would be to go against these: ecological sustainability, peace and non-violence, grassroots participatory democracy, and social justice. And I think these are all really fantastic things. So we're all individuals, we all make our own decisions on council. That's the 4 things you need to know about that the Greens are about, and I guess that's why Mark looks up to us. So in the next term of council, I would aim to reinvigorate community engagement partnerships and committees, continue to pursue action to reduce traffic congestion, such as new roads and carpool to school. Oh, I always run out of time. Is that 4 minutes? Okay, I'll just sum it up with vote for a mayor that really cares.
So moving slowly now. The mayor that cares. What about the mayor with no hair? That also works, as far as I'm concerned. Mayoral candidate Nick Liverback once again, in case you haven't picked up earlier. So, when elected as mayor, the Hastings community will benefit from my business and community organisation connections, my ongoing involvement in local events and activities, and my individual and team success in business and in sports. During this term of council, I stood up and spoken on many issues, but in particular highlighting our need for a new housing strategy, providing a wide range of homes, and doing what we can for the most vulnerable members of our community, because our community is only as strong as its weakest link. I've been working on increasing the number of local businesses successfully vying for council tenders for supporting tourism, which brings economic benefits, and drawing more events to our region, improving those supporting facilities, the road network. We all do the same job, we all want the same thing, safer beaches, and the list will go on. And most important, I've been listening to your feedback. And I want to hear what you have to say. And when you get some overwhelming feedback, as we did only a few months ago at council meetings, which was then knocked back by the voting bloc, well, things need to change, to say the least. I survived the great breakball debate. We spoke earlier about sticking up for yourself and sticking to your guns. That first time that council wanted to ask the state government for more information on upgrading, not demolishing, upgrading the Southern Breakball report, I was defeated 8-1. A couple of months later, we came back to council, we lost 4-5. Came back again to council, we got up 5-4. It is about being persistent, it is about sticking to your guns and staying on course to make sure that the right decisions are made. I survived the 26-minute media circus where I was referred to as Brody, by the mayor, during the state election campaign in the council chamber for daring to suggest we elect a new deputy mayor every 12 months. There you go. So I am resilient, I have strong mental health and minds. Come at me, you're not going to get better on that. I've been working hard this entire 2 years and 9 months, and now I want you to re-elect me and my team, or 2 or 3 members, depending on what happens. And it's D for the group, D for the ballot paper, D for democracy. We will work on improving and nailing the basics of the council's responsibilities to provide a strong platform for us to build on in the future. No more dysfunction, distrust, and divisiveness. No more party politics, preconceived ideas or personal agendas. Team Liverback includes John Bailey, Ellen Grabaz, and Luke Darrell. We are committed to our community, and I look forward to your support as your mayor when you get to the polling booth. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nick. A few people to thank tonight. The first and foremost, all of those out here who have come along to participate as an audience for our mayoral candidates. Our people from the press asking their questions. It's really fabulous to see that the press is taking a little bit of interest in the local politics, far more than perhaps I would, because I didn't mention earlier I'm actually enrolled to vote elsewhere. Next time I'll be enrolled to vote here, so this has been a fabulous learning curve for me as far as the local government elections. The next people to thank are the Hastings Residents Association over here. Now these people have done a tremendous job organising four Meet the Candidates, plus this tonight's event, the mayoral event. So without them, we wouldn't get all this information that we've had. And I'll just mention, I mentioned this at one of the other forums. I'm not voting, but even tonight, with what I've learned tonight about these candidates here for mayor, if I was voting, I actually know who I'd be voting for mayor. And I even know, I'm not going to say who though, and I even sort of gave me a little bit of help in working out what order I'd be numbering people. So next council election, see if we can get more people to come along and take an interest in what's happening locally. That would be wonderful. And finally, of course, I just checked, Greg, did you have anything you wanted to add or say before I thank our wonderful mayoral candidates?
I'll just say that we succeeded in recording it on YouTube, so we'll be available to watch on YouTube. I don't know the URL, so if you go to our Facebook page, you'll find it on there tomorrow, where you can see me or text me if you've got our details or our email, and I'll let you know that we'll be out there permanently, so you'll be able to watch it again for other people watching. Thanks for coming.
Was there a question about that down the back? Did you have a question about the URL?
The question, did the Roberts Group answer the question?
No. Now, as some of you may have known, we sent out the invitation for the mayoral debate last Wednesday. We made certain provisions, knowing that Adam Roberts has trouble getting to these meetings, whereby we said we would send out the questions 2 days before. Ruby and Luke facilitated that by providing the questions to us early. We asked for every candidate to RSVP by Saturday morning. All three of these candidates had RSVP by Friday. I got an email from Daniel Maltman, who is apparently the spokesperson for Adam Roberts, on Saturday morning saying Mr. Roberts wouldn't make up his mind if he was coming until he saw all the questions from the journalists first, which wasn't what we required of any of the other mayoral candidates who agreed to come. So we sent them to him anyway on Saturday night. I heard nothing from them all day Sunday. So I sent them an email on Sunday night and said, can you please let us know so we can plan the meeting and see how many questions we can get through with more candidates. I heard nothing again. And then there was an email around lunchtime today again from Daniel Maltman saying, with a great long attachment from Adam Roberts, saying why he doesn't think these meetings are very helpful to come to, and he thought they could be confrontive and difficult for people to come along here and get something out of them. So, to put it simply, he wasn't coming. And that's been what's happened for all 5 of our forums now. There's been a different excuse each time. We didn't give enough notice, or we didn't get the invitation, or he didn't like the style of format that we're running. And we had the same thing happen 3 years ago when this committee was running the Meet the Candidates forums for the last election, the last council election. And we had the same thing from the team that Adam Roberts was on. They didn't like the way we were doing it. They wanted us to change things around. They decided to boycott 2 of those forums and didn't come. And then they realized they should come because they weren't getting their message out. So it's very disappointing, but Adam Roberts doesn't want to answer questions from the public, he doesn't want to answer questions from the media, and so therefore we've carried on without him. And it's disappointing because you're entitled to know what you're about to vote for, and we hope you'll make your decision based on what you know about
Yes,
each
the Lord seriousness was with mushroom sauce, they are ready to pick up and pick up.
Thank you.
All right. Now, just as an aside, these candidates have all talked about having children, and I'm sure they just wanted to make me feel old because next January I'm going to be a great grandfather, and these people are worried about their children. So I know I look just as old as I am. And one other thing I'd like to do is thank Hastings Residents Association for inviting me to run these sessions or facilitate these sessions, because it's been a fascinating process and certainly a great introduction for me for when I do eventually move here permanently sometime between now and Christmas. So lastly, thank these guys. They're going to do a wonderful job if they're elected, and they've done a wonderful job already this time. And with that, we will bid you all good night.
Actually, Joe was phone.
This actually